Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. Can you believe this is lesson number 10? Lesson number 10 of Fantastic Mr. Fox. We are about halfway through the book at this point, okay? It's getting very exciting and a bit scary too, because the farmers had dug down with their shovels and diggers and now they were waiting out the foxes. And then Mr. Fox had a plan. But he wouldn't tell anybody what their plan was. All we know is it involves more digging. So, moving on to chapter 10. Make sure you're sitting comfortably. Then I'll begin. This time, we must go in a very special direction, said Mr. Fox, pointing sideways and downwards. Sideways and downwards. So he and his 4 children started to dig once again. The work went much more slowly now, yet they kept at it with great courage, and little by little, the tunnel began to grow. Dad, I wish you could tell us where we are going, said one of the children. I dare not do that, said Mr. Fox, because this place I am hoping to get to is so marvellous that if I described it to you now, you would go crazy with excitement. And then, if we failed to get there, which is very possible, you would die of disappointment. I don't want to raise your hopes too much, my darlings. For a long time, they kept on digging. For how long, they did not know, because there were no days and no nights down there in a murky tunnel. But at last, Mr. Fox gave the order to stop. I think, he said, we had better take a peek upstairs now and see where we are. I know where I want to be, but I can't possibly be sure we're anywhere near it. Slowly, wearily, the foxes began to slope the tunnel up towards the surface. Up and up it went, until suddenly they came to something hard above their heads. They couldn't go up any further. Mr. Fox reached up to examine this hard thing. It's wood, he whispered. Wooden planks. What does that mean, Dad? It means, unless I am very much mistaken, that we are right underneath somebody's house, whispered Mr. Fox. Be very quiet now whilst I take a peek. Carefully, he began to push up one of the floorboards. The board creaked most terribly, and they all ducked down, waiting for something awful to happen. Nothing did. So Mr. Fox pushed up a second board. And then, very, very cautiously, he poked his head up through the gap. He let out a shriek of excitement. I've done it, he yelled. I've done it! First time! I've done it! I've done it! He pulled himself up through the gap in the floor and started prancing and dancing with joy. Come on up, he sang out. Come up and see where you are, my darlings. What a sight for a hungry fox! Hallelujah! Hooray! The 4 small foxes scrambled out of the tunnel, and what a fantastic sight now met their eyes. They were in a huge shed. The whole place was teeming with chickens. There were white chickens, there were brown chickens, there were black chickens by the thousand. Boggis's chicken house number 1, cried Mr. Fox. It's exactly what I was aiming for. I hit it slap in the middle first time. Isn't that fantastic? And, if I may say so, rather clever. The small foxes went wild with excitement. They started running around in all directions, chasing the stupid chickens. Wait, ordered Mr. Fox. Don't lose your heads. Stand back. Calm down. Let's do this properly. First of all, everyone have a drink of water. They all ran over to the chicken's drinking trough and lapped up the lovely cool water. Then Mr. Fox chose 3 of the plumpest hens, and with a clever flick of his jaws, he killed them instantly. Back to the tunnel, he ordered. Come on, no fooling around. The quicker you move, the quicker you shall have something to eat. One after another, they climbed down through the hole in the floor, and soon they were all standing once again in the dark tunnel. Mr. Fox reached up and pulled the floorboards back into place. He did this with great care. He did it so that no one could tell they had ever been moved. "My son," he said, giving the 3 plump hens to the biggest of his 4 children, "run back with these to your mother. Tell her to prepare a feast. Tell her the rest of us will be along in a jiffy, as soon as we have made a few other little arrangements." That's the end of chapter 10 for you there. It's a great wee illustration there. These again are the original illustrations from the book in 1970, but they've had colour added to them as well. And we can see Mr. Fox. Where is he? He's in the middle of that chicken house. Boggs' chicken house number 1, isn't he? Dancing around, and you can see the 4 small foxes as well, peeking their heads out. You can see in their eyes as well how excited they are about the whole thing too. Chickens don't look very happy though, do they? So, task today. Our learning intention is to summarise the chapter. I know we've done a summarising task before, but it's a really, really useful one to come back and do. You'll find in life, in general, you need to summarise all the time. You do it anyway when you would come back from school and mum, dad, carer would say, "What did you get up to?" Then you're summarising your day. You don't tell them every single thing that you did. You don't tell them how you picked your nose in literacy, do you? No, sure you leave that one out, yeah. But you do, you just tell them the main parts, don't you? And you do that in life a lot. After a meeting, someone will say, "Okay, so what are we doing next? What happened at that meeting? What happened at the event?" At the end of football, rugby games as well, if you're asked to write a report about the game, you don't write down every single kick of the ball, do you? You just write down the main events. So summarising is such a useful tool for life, and that's what we're doing today. The task. Imagine you are the young fox taking the chickens back to Mrs. Fox. What would you tell her? Now remember as well that these foxes were close to starving and they had no idea where they were going. So imagine you're this little fox running back with those 3 plump hens, come into the hole where Mrs. Fox is going, "Mum, guess what happened?" What would you say? That's what I want you to write today. So for our success criteria, a good way to take on this task is to bullet point the main events in the chapter first. I know a lot of us did that last time and it seemed to really help. So bullet point the main events, the main things that happened, then take those bullet points and write them into full sentences. Remember to use capital letters and full stops when you're doing it too. And of course, only include the key information. We don't need every single thing that happened, just the key parts. Hopefully that makes sense. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Again, if you could post your work on Teams, amazing. You could email it to me. And if not, just have a go at the task. That's great as well. Hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you later. Bye.